I mean, let's talk about the Xavier Lucas situation now, because we just, talked about that whole situation. And there's a legal battle that's about to be brewing here between Lucas and Wisconsin, as it appears that Wisconsin's preventing Lucas from entering the portal, as he's now retained Darren Heitner as his representation in this situation. Heitner, of course, one of the best, and biggest when it comes to these NIL things. It's such a niche rule set, and Darren is always at the forefront of a lot of these issues. And here's a tweet, as Pete Nakos had tweeted out yesterday. Wisconsin safety Xavier Lucas has yet to enter the transfer portal, as his dispute with the Badgers carries on. And remember, Lucas, a couple weeks ago now at this point, at the deadline, essentially tweeted out that he was entering the portal. He said he had filled out all the paperwork, but that Wisconsin was not allowing him, or they weren't doing their part of the bargain of actually filing the paperwork, which schools are obligated to do. And there's been a lot of talk that he owes Wisconsin something NIL wise, that he came to a new deal with them and he owes them money. His attorney, Darren Heitner, says, let's clear something up. Xavier Lucas owes Wisconsin nothing. The school is holding him hostage. It's disgusting, illegal, and will be crushing for recruiting. Wisconsin can easily do the right thing and place him in the transfer portal. The silence on their end is deafening. And that's not the only thing he shared. So as you see here, he says in April 2024, the Division I Council unanimously adopted a rule change to allow transferring athletes to be immediately eligible at their new school. And he tweets out the rule and says it's important to follow the rules, right? So he's implying essentially that Wisconsin is not following the rules here. And this all stems from the fact that Wisconsin is alleging that there's a school tampering with him. And at the end of the day, even if there was, it doesn't give them the right here to withhold Lucas's paperwork and prevent him from entering the portal.
Yeah, it's like we talked about with Oregon and Boise State and some of these coaches going public with tampering accusations. That's really all you can do here, because if the player wants to leave, and clearly Xavier Lucas has said he wants to get out of Wisconsin, you can't keep him against his will, and you have to, under the NCAA rules, enter his name in the portal if he says, I want to go in the portal within the allotted time frame. They didn't do that. So what Heitner's doing is going to the media, making sure that this is as big a stink as possible. I'm sure he's sending various demand letters to Wisconsin. And he's saying, look, Wisconsin, the problem with Wisconsin is they're not even saying why they're doing any of this stuff. They're just kind of not doing it, being quiet. So, I don't know if they're doing that out of spite. I don't know if there's a grand plan here, but they're just ignoring. So what I expect Lucas to do is continue to make it stink in the media, which Heitner, as the most high-profile NIL attorney, is doing on social media, send demand letters to the NCAA, to the Wisconsin. And if nothing happens, he's just going to file he is going to sue for a temporary injunction, or preliminary injunction, which is basically he is asking the court to forego the usual timing. If we file a motion, we set a hearing, and it takes a long time to get done, and saying this is an emergency. If I don't get this injunction, which forces Wisconsin to enter my name in the portal, then I am going to be irreparably harmed, because I'm not going to be able to enroll at the school of my choice. So this is an emergency. This is something that, if it's not done by this time period, will cause irreparable harm. I can't just, turn back time and enter the school. So it needs to happen now. You need to have us before the court in an expedited fashion, an emergency setting. And, it's the equities, the basically the justice. It's hard to explain. It's more fair for us to get this as opposed to not, is basically what he is saying. The weight of the equities is on the side of Xavier Lucas. Separately, you got to show the court, if you want to get this injunction entered, you got to show the court that we're likely to win. In other words, we have the right, the law's on our side. Wisconsin doesn't have a leg to stand on. If you show all that, the court can say, all right, that's Wisconsin, you have to put Xavier Lucas's name in the portal. these are expensive. All this preliminary injunction stuff, it is very much a rush. So to do that is a very strong step. And if that happens in the Xavier Lucas situation, I think you'll see things move quickly towards a resolution, because you don't want to be fighting that. And if you do, even if you do have to fight it, at least Wisconsin comes out of their hole and explains what's going on. I think that's
what I was going to say right now, is that Wisconsin is not looking really good in this at all right now. Lucas is a guy who comes from a high-profile program in South Florida. Wisconsin has recruited South Florida in the past. Again, whether or not they feel like they have a claim to be doing this is not the situation. They're just not allowed to. Again, if this is all alleged from Lucas's side, right? And obviously he's not in the portal, because he would have been officially in the portal now. And he says that he's done everything that he needs to. But to me, Wisconsin is the one right now that's really, really not looking good at all in this situation. I think it's going to hurt them in terms of recruiting.
Yeah, that's a point Carl was making here. Wisconsin has done very well in South Florida over the years. You look at Ricardo Hallman, as far as a defensive back. They had Fayon Hicks, another defensive back. These are all guys from South Florida. They've had guys going back a ways at that position. Rashad Wildgoose went out to the NFL. They really like to get cornerbacks across different coaches from the South Florida area. So, Xavier Lucas, obviously a corner from Broward County. This situation does not do a lot for Wisconsin's reputation in the area. So, hopefully what you have is cooler heads prevailing. The nastiness is avoided. Xavier Lucas enters the portal and there's no issue, because ultimately I don't see what the end game is for Wisconsin.
Right, and that's what Zach Lesnar is saying here. He said, what's the point of trying to keep him if he doesn't want to be there?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of different reporting on this, rumors. What you're hearing from the Wisconsin side is that Xavier Lucas signed an NIL deal shortly before this decision entered the portal. It's unclear whether money changed hands, but the problem with the NIL deal is this is not a contract for performance of football, right? This is a contract for marketing. So you can't just say, hey, it's like, you sign a contract with the Tampa Bay Bucks and you didn't want to play. It's not like that. So the NIL deal itself is not going to preclude somebody from leaving the school. It never does. We see people enter the portal all the time with NIL deals. Separately, you have rumors that Wisconsin is accusing Miami, which is the local school for Xavier Lucas, of tampering. And again, I'm not sure this is the recourse for that, because there's nothing in the rule that says if you suspect the other team of tampering, you can withhold entering the name of the portal. So hard to know what Wisconsin's thinking, because they're not saying anything, but I think there's going to come to a head shortly, either before or after there's a motion or request for a preliminary injunction.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation that we'll continue to monitor and keep you updated here on Group Chat Football Live.